Good evening, and welcome to tonight's zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Blaise Donadio, a senior planner in the planning department. You're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise and accurate information so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision, and they are as follows. They're also listed up here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Liam if you haven't done so already, and then you'll be asked to go to the podium, where you'll state your name and address, and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. Then the applicant can come back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon, or you can wait to be notified by mail.
Ready? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 19213, Andrew Brown, 152 Cornell Drive. The location of the property, the south side of Cornell Drive, 112 feet west of Tusculum Road. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet for proposed 14-foot by 30-foot in-ground swimming pool, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the side yard from 25% to 28% for proposed pool paver patio, to reduce the minimum setback of a 5-foot retaining wall from the property line from 5 feet to 0 for proposed retaining walls B, C, and D.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Christina Bravin, Morano Expediting, 2938 Hempstead Turnpike, Levittown, New York. Agent for the applicant. Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
So we are requesting permission to install an in-ground swimming pool 14 by 30 in the front yard. And due to the topography of the yard, there is no alternate location to place the pool without doing extensive regrading. The first floor elevation of the home is at elevation 101, and the rear property line is at elevation 124.8 at its highest. The property is zoned R10, which typically will allow for a 6-foot setback if the pool could be placed in the rear yard entirely. So we are requesting 7 feet because the rear yard varies in height so much so that we are unable to put it there. The in-ground pool, again, is 14 by 30, which is small in size, but we feel it's fitting for the property. The property currently has railroad tie retaining walls that are deteriorating and unsafe. The proposal is to maintain the existing wall heights and locations and replace those railroad ties with segmental block walls that will have a 0-foot setback at the property line and a 5-foot return. Again, maintaining existing wall heights and locations. If you have any questions, I have a full set of plans here and pictures as well if you haven't had a chance to see the property.
Just one question. The retaining walls, they're all wood,
Correct. Railroad ties, yes.
railroad ties, and there's other rock walls on the property?
We will be replacing the proposal is to replace all the railroad ties with block.
Okay, so they'll all be block.
Yes.
Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No,
No.
thank you.
Thank you.
No? Planning?
No, thank you.
No,
Sabrina?
thank you.
No? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19214, Mark Schwing, 17 Eustis Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the northwest corner of Eustis Drive and Floyd Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the front yard setback on Floyd Lane from 10 feet to 0 for an existing 6-foot PVC fence.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you? So just to explain the...
Excuse me. Can
Yes.
you just state your name and
Oh, I'm
address for the
sorry,
record,
yes.
please?
Mark Schwing, residing at 17 Eustis Drive.
Thank you.
So I am the homeowner of the property, and my variance is for, as they said, no setback on the 6-foot fence. So the difficulty in maintaining a setback is mainly the existing trees that I had taken down in my yard. There's about 4 or 5 stumps that are directly in line with that 10-foot offset. So without heavy machinery, it would be incredibly difficult to install the fence at a 10-foot setback. And honestly, I'm a new homeowner. I've had the home for 3 years. So there's a little ignorance on my part. I put it up not realizing all of the stipulations that were in place. And I noticed that other people in the neighborhood had a similar setup for fence. So that is why it was built before I applied for the variance. But that is essentially the main reason is I can't really maintain a 10-foot offset with those tree stumps.
Okay. Can we go back to the last picture? Yeah, that. Now, is that the end of the fence? Because that lines up with the back of your house.
This
Right?
No, the fence is not completed in this picture. The complaint came in before I completed the fence.
Okay, so how far up are you going to?
There's about 3 more panels. So this drawing here shows the end of the fence. This is not installed as such yet. So from that picture you saw, there's about 3 more panels and a gate, and that would be the end. And you can see it lines up right with the corner of the house.
All right, so it'll line up with the front of the house.
Yes, essentially right at that 40-something foot offset from the front of the house, or the front property line.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, do you have a survey? Because I'm just wondering if that's actually at 0 or if it's outside of the property line, because there's typically a 10-foot right-of-way, correct? Is that 10 feet?
If it's directly behind the sidewalk, it may not be.
That's what I'm noticing. So do you have a
I have-
survey?
I do have a survey, yes.
Is it possible for you to get that fence onto the survey? You know, have your surveyor add it to your survey so that
Yes.
we can be certain that you're not going to encroach into the right-of-way?
Yes, I can do that. And just to that point, the drawing you're looking at was an overlay of the existing survey. And I field measured everything in terms of the fence from the property line. I measured off of the house itself to find my property line. And then I measured where the fence was in relation to that. So I feel this is fairly accurate, but if you need more information, I'm more than willing to.
Yeah, just because we want to be certain that you're actually not in the right-of-way.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You could bring that down to the planning office
Yeah.
tomorrow, or,
Yeah, I will see if I can get it
Or
done
the
by
end of the
tomorrow.
week.
Yes, that's fine.
okay,
End of the week should be fine.
okay. All right, so we won't have a decision on this tonight until we get the drawing,
Okay,
all right?
no problem.
Okay. Sabrina?
No comments, no thank you.
Blaze?
Just a couple of quick comments. The chairman and I were out there yesterday morning reviewing the site. We did notice that the fence may, in fact, create a line of sight issue for the neighbor behind the applicant. And also, we did receive a letter from another resident that did have a complaint about the fence in its current location.
Right. That letter will enter into the record. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? You have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19216, Thomas Marzocchi, 40 Halleck Avenue, Smithtown. The location of the property is the west side of Halleck Avenue, 56 feet south of Rosalia Court. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 3 feet, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for depth of groundwater less than 10 feet, for a proposed 744-square-foot detached garage.
Good evening.
Thomas Marzocchi, 40 Halleck Avenue, Smithtown, New York.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your behalf?
I would.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, board members. My name is John Gleason, architect, 336 6th Avenue, St. James, New York, 11780. Tonight, we're here to ask for relief for setbacks on the corner of the rear. Just to note that the garage height conforms to current zoning standards, and also the size. It's about, I don't know, about 10 square feet or so, or 6 square feet less than the maximum size allowed without a variance. So what brings us here really is the homeowner wants to have the garage closer than 6 feet to the property lines, give him more room in the backyard, obviously. There's not going to be trees removed. There's going to be no harmful effects from this garage. It's really going to be storage for a classic motorcycle and some cars he's going to be involved in repairing and restoring. Many neighbors, as we saw from the initial aerial view, that there's a couple neighbors that have also detached garages, so it's kind of conforming to the neighbors. As far as that goes, as far as detached garages. I'll take any questions, and also, we're in the high groundwater. We had a boring done, and so that's why we're also asking for a variance for that.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No.
Planning?
Just have one question for John. In
Yes.
looking at the aerial of the property in the rear yard, there doesn't appear to be anything there right now other than what appears to be a small shed. Is there something physical that's preventing the garage from meeting the 6-foot setback from both lot lines, or is it more of a personal choice?
It's more of a personal choice, where you're right. There's nothing in the spot where the proposed garage is going to go, and a couple feet, closer to the lot line would be advantageous to the homeowner.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sabrina? No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. I'm Linda Karminski.
Excuse me, can you
Sorry.
just state your name, spell your last name?
Sure,
So we
sure.
get it correct for the record, please?
Of course, sure.
And your address.
Sure, my first name is Linda. My last name is Karminski. That's spelled Karminski. My living, where I live is 23 Crescent Place, but I am here because I am part of the estate of Harry Morris. The 5 Rosalia Court address was deeded over to my brother and I. And that is why I am here, because I own half the house that borders on this home. And I have a letter.
Okay.
All right. All right. And so my concern is that our property, the back of our property, borders up on this area where he's placing a garage. Because I live in another part of Smithtown, this to me is a house that my brother and I need to sell. And my concern is that, knowing that where a garage is placed, I would imagine that another homeowner would say, why is this garage placed so close to our property line? And I've lived in Smithtown for 56 years, and so I live behind that piece of property. And that piece of property on Halleck is a very, very long lot for it to go behind us. And so I really don't understand why someone would choose to build the garage at the very far end of their property when the concerns of other neighbors would be involved. Do you understand my point? I mean, if you want to ask me a question, what I'm saying, does what I'm saying make sense?
You're the house to the north.
No. We are, the backyard of us is one side. He comes all the way back from Halleck. We make an L. My parents' property is an L. His backyard, my backyard goes onto his side yard. Does that make sense? If you make an L, if that rectangle is this way, turn my property is this way. This is my backyard along his side.
I'm just asking, is it labeled J.P. Morgan Chase, your property?
No, no.
any reason?
My house has no mortgage. My house is 5 Rosalia Court.
Oh, okay.
And he. Are you at the corner? No, I am the. We used to be the second. They built houses on Rosalia since I grew up. It's the third house in.
Okay. So you're against the garage totally?
Well, my feeling is, yes, you can have a garage, but I guess I don't understand why you would take it and put it the farthest point back in your property. Why aren't you living within the guidelines of Smithtown? Why would it have to come so close to my fence? Because my thought is, I'd like to sell this piece of property. It's a home with it. And I would say the person that's purchasing could have the right to say, really? Did that person have to build that far back when the property is a tremendous, I don't have the dimensions, but I
Right.
can say to you, it's a very large piece. It's probably at least a half an acre. Because my parents' size on Rosalie is a third, and they're larger than we are. So it's probably a half-acre piece of property. So that means you've got a 200-foot depth, at least. He's got maybe 250 feet deep. So why do you need to be at the very back? And I don't want to
Well, it
make
looks
it
like it's 135-foot dip.
I'm sorry.
All right, we'll bring them back.
I'm not sure that you're thinking about the right property, because it doesn't make sense. I just want to try and figure out where you are. Is there any way you could point to where he has the pointer up there? Is there any way you could point to? Is that your house there?
It's a small ranch with the garage to the left side.
You're saying your property line runs along his property line. They're adjacent.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's gotta be the second house from the corner then, doesn't it? Where the pointer is now? And how deep is your property?
151 feet. 77, but we're 77 wide, 151 deep. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, ours on Rosalie is 151 feet deep.
What's the address of yours?
5 Rosalia.
I don't see that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard on this application? Anyone else like to be heard on the application? No? Would you like to come back to answer her concerns?
How's it going? So the reason for me offsetting the garage to the far right is one, for my property space, and two, for ease of access, because eventually that fence line, I'm just gonna open it up a little more so I could get a vehicle into my backyard.
Anything, John? No?
No, I was just confused of where exactly that number 5, Rosalia, is, but I think, it's old Smithtown over there, and some of the houses are predating the code, so, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19217, James and Pamela Bryceland, 84 Howell Drive, Smithtown. The location of the property is the south side of Howell Drive, 282 feet west of Franklin Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 39 feet, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet, to reduce total side yards from 28 feet to 22 feet for proposed 240-square-foot front porch addition, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 30% for proposed asphalt driveway.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Bryceland. I reside at 84 Howell Drive, Smithtown, New York, 11787. I'd like my architect to present on my behalf.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Michael Morbillo, architect. My firm is Nspire Design Group. My office is located at 273 Lake Avenue in St. James, New York. The case before you this evening is for a proposed porch renovation. The footprint of the porch is actually existing. We are proposing, you can see in the elevation above, we're proposing a reverse gable to renovate the front porch, to add a little bit of character to it. Upon making application, we found that the porch, which has been in existence from the 70s, was not listed on the CO at the time of the renovation. So it's been there for several decades, and so we're before you this evening to discuss that existing porch and essentially its existing encroachments for one item. If we look at the survey of the property, we can see that the front yard is the property is tapered. So the point of where it encroaches at its closest point is a little bit over 7 feet, and we're about 7.6 feet. And where it starts next to the garage is about just about 11 feet. So the entire porch is not 7 feet from the side property line because it's at an angle. So it's between 7 to 11 feet. for the setback of the porch. And again, it's been in existence for many years. There's some vegetation along the property line existing, which I think is not, it's actually neighboring property. It's something that's not highly visible. Also, the house doesn't have a very strong street presence, because if you're familiar with Howell Drive, which most of us know kind of connects 25A to Middle Country Road, it's something you kind of pass by the house. It's not a large street frontage, so it doesn't have an impact on the neighbors. So it's not going to create an undesirable change because it's been there for a long time. We don't have too many options. We do have a unique characteristic of the property because it's tapered, the tapered shape of it. That also leads us to our second request, which is for the driveway. Right now, there's a single lane driveway, which isn't exactly the safest because of the turn on Howell Drive. There's a lot of traffic that kind of slows down there. What we're looking is to just widen up the part of the driveway that's closest to the house, and to be able to have two-car width close to the house. And because the front yard is basically a trapezoid, it's not a rectangle, we have a smaller front yard than most, I'll say, parallel-shaped or rectangular-shaped properties have. So we kind of have a unique condition with that in requesting the increase in the paving area and the front yard. So for those reasons, we're asking for this board's consideration, and if you have any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19218, Jesus and Jill Valdez, 5 Bowman Lane, Kings Park. The location of the property is the east side of Bowman Lane, 200 feet north of Knight Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the north side yard from 25% to 75%, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the south side yard from 25% to 80% for existing concrete and paver patios.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jesus Valdez. This is,
Jill Valdez.
we reside at 5 Bowman Lane. Again, I was stated, we purchased a house in 2007. It had a pool, side yard, paved. Since then, we've updated that. We have updated the pavers back in 2017 into 2018. But when we did purchase the house, all that pre-existing cement or paving did exist. Again, at this point in time, we're simply requesting, I guess, the maintenance, not to expand, but the maintenance of the existing pavers that we've had done that we replaced, again, in 2017, 2018, so that accounts for the percentages. It's been in existence for over 20 years. One of the things that we're really combating with right now is it has been discussed with the town of Smithtown that we have issues on the front of the street with drainage, so that kind of exacerbates some of the issues when we do have excessive rainfall. So certainly, you know, everything with the recent August storm, the August 18th storm, that created substantial damage to my property, but also our property. But we are rectifying that with the town as well, and we're discussing it with the town. I believe we're getting a new pipe put in on the front, on the street of 5 Bowman Lane that runs to the sump, which is around the corner on Knight Lane. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the problem exists with the lack of drainage on our street. It has been determined, even from the environmental department, that there is, something wrong with the pipe. So they said they were awaiting a permit for that. So there have been, flooding, in our house for many years. Also our neighbors behind us because of the way that our yard is, and then it drops again into St. John Lynn. So this has been an issue that we've been combating for years, not only, ourselves, but our neighbors as well. So it is something that we've been going back and forth. And to be honest with you, we've had extensive damage, like my husband said, this last rainstorm. And everyone that comes in our backyard to get an estimate says, thank God for our pavers, because they said that our pool would have wound up in our neighbor's backyard. And they said the way these houses were built was not to code from way back when our initial house was built, as well as our neighbors. So it is difficult, so we're just asking to keep what we have, because honestly, I am concerned for the safety. I have 4 children. I won't even let them in my backyard right now until, we get everything fixed. But everyone that comes in our backyard is like, we don't even know what to do, because it's, this shouldn't have even been, but they said, thank God for the concrete and our pavers, because again, the erosion would have been so bad had we not had those pavers. And, I do have pictures to even show you where it literally, if you look where to the left, you can kind of see our retaining wall kind of collapse. And it's a 5-foot drop, our pump, everything, and everything up until the pavers went down. So this is what we're dealing with. We have a lot of other issues going on, but, certainly, I don't think the issue is the pavers per se. It's the lack of drainage from the street, and this is something that we've spoke to the town about, and we're working with them right now, So we're just asking to keep what we have. We didn't do anything new. We replaced the bricks just because of maintenance. And we do have brickwork in our breezeway, which was formerly concrete. So we didn't do any additional work. We just maintained it from when we purchased the home.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No,
No,
thank you.
thank you.
Planning?
Just wanted to confirm with them. You did say you purchased the home about 2007, and all of the paving that's there now was existing, but not in that form.
Correct.
So you took that paving out
Yes.
and replaced it with that.
Yeah, in 2017, the summer, we redid our backyard because the brickwork was obviously not, because again, we purchased the house in 2007, but those brickwork prior to that was existing for many years. So we just needed to maintain it. We also put brickwork in our breezeway, but prior to the breezeway, I just want you to know, it wasn't brickwork, it was just cement. So we redid that with, but it would, the same difference, so to speak.
Thank you.
Just one question.
Sure.
When you purchased the house, was there drainage around there for the pavers?
No. We just redid the bricks as it was, like that.
Okay.
There is drainage. There's a pipe existing from the fence line over the,
On the,
up the,
it's
so
like a-
where you see the white
Like a
fence.
French drain along that side?
There's along the side there. And then on the other side, we don't have, I don't know if we have a picture of it. I guess that's what we sent in. But on the other side, well, we have a drainage pipe leading down. That's from our next door neighbor is, what was that? That's 3 Bowman Lane, sorry, we're 5. And then on the other side, and there's been issues there too, right next to my other neighbor who drops down on St. John Lynn, who's gotten extensive damage too from flooding. We have just rocks there, and, we have a little deck, but it's not pictured there, but there's not brickwork directly over there. But again, anything that we did was just, pre-existing, we just redid it to maintain it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, to ensure full compliance with our environmental review, we wish to consider information presented by the applicant as well as any comments from the public before we make a recommendation to the board. So therefore, no decision will be made tonight.
Okay. So no decision on your case tonight,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19219, Nelson Garcia, 1 Second Street, Nesconset. The location of the property is the north side of Second Street, 100 feet west of Shenandoah Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to add to a lawful non-conforming structure to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 35 feet to 15 feet for an existing 247 square foot rear addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Nelson Garcia. I reside at First Second Street in Wisconsin. Kelly Bennett I would like for her to speak on my behalf.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Good evening. Kelly Bennett, 1257 Udall Road, Bayshore, New York, 11706. So I'm here tonight on behalf of Mr. Nelson Garcia, as well as the architect's office. There was some work being done. Mr. Garcia purchased this home back in in June. They were doing some work to the house and did get a complaint. There was a bit of miscommunication between them and the contractors they were working with, so they were not aware that no permit was filed. So the rear addition that you see is to the northwest corner of the dwelling. It's a 247 square foot addition, just to get them a really nice layout for open kitchen dining room floor plan. So we did square off that corner of the house. The original dwelling is, it's a 10,000 square foot lot. The original dwelling was CO'd in 1949. It was originally 20 by 30 feet. One addition was done back in then 58. So that 15.6 feet is the existing non-conforming rear yard setback of the original dwelling that they had followed. Also, just to point out to the board, they are located, it's a really beautiful neighborhood. They're right at the end of a dead end. So the construction work is being done on that side. There really is no impact to any neighbors. So again, they're very excited to finish this work. We did apply for the permits. There will be a new front portico. So the two requests that we're seeking permission for this evening is to maintain that reduced rear yard setback from the required 35 feet to 15.6, as well as adding to a non-conforming structure.
Okay. Your rear yard backs up on a paper street, doesn't it?
It's one parcel behind it. I'm not 100% certain that it's a paper street.
I think it is, but it's,
Looks that way from that aerial map. Most of the homes have either sheds or accessory structures, very much in character with the neighborhood over there.
okay. All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19221, James and Laura DeConti, 20 River Heights Drive, Smithtown. The location of the property, the south side of River Heights Drive, 275 feet east of Patricia Court. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 to 48 feet for a proposed 45-square-foot roof extension over a garage with columns, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 15 feet, reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 31 feet for a proposed 878-square-foot first-floor rear addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Laura DeConti. I reside at 20 River Heights Drive, Smithtown, New York, 11787. I have my expediter, Ricardo, here to represent me tonight.
Fine, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ricardo Cervini, address 200 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 207, Melville, New York, 11747. Cervini. So I represent the property owners. They purchased the property back in 2019. So the whole reason for this renovation is that they need a great need to expand the property, the home, because they have a growing family. Basically, the three items that are in question before this board is the first item is to reduce the front yard setback from 50 feet to 48 feet for a proposed 45-square-foot roof extension over the garage with columns. The second item is the reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 15 feet and reduce the total side yard setback from 34 to 31 for a proposed 878-square-foot first-floor rear addition. I'd like to point out that there was an application that was before this board in 2018 from the previous owner that this board approved two similar items on this application. You familiar with that approval?
No. Do you have it with you?
Yeah, I have a copy, sure.
Do you want it back, or could I just put it into the record? All right, I'll put it into the record.
So basically, it's two of the same items, the side yard setback, which was reduced from 16 to 14 feet. I don't know why there was a discrepancy there's a 1-foot discrepancy there, but regardless, the board had approved it, and also the reduction of this total side yard setback from 34 to 31. So basically, these items that the property owners are presenting are minimal, and it's not going to create any detrimental changes to the neighborhood. It's not going to change the characteristic. If you look at the architectural plans, you can see that the design is, it's in characteristic to the neighborhood. I mean, it should be, it's a first floor addition, and it's all for the purpose of the expansion of the family. And the property is pretty large. I mean, it's about 48,000 square feet. So, I mean, what they're proposing is, very minimal. Does the board have any questions?
I'll ask.
Okay.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 1-17981, David Ameti, 51 Winnecomack Circle, Kings Park. The location of the property is the south side of Winnecomack Circle, 975 feet east of Old Comack Road. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for parents, a variance to increase the floor area for temporary living quarters from 600 square feet to 1,142 square feet, to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 60 feet to 55 feet for an existing 73 square foot first floor addition, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 10 feet to 10 feet to 1 foot, and total side yards from 20 feet to 12 feet for an existing 35 square foot shed, and to increase the maximum gross floor area of the lot from 25% to 35%.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Ahmedi. I reside at 51 Winnecomack Circle, Kings Park, New York, 11754. This is my dad here, Shanasim Ahmedi. So just a little background, I guess, on me. We, cultural, ethnic background, parents have their eldest son tend to live with them and support them as they get older, so we're their retirement fund, essentially. 2002, I got married. We decided to do an extension on the property. Got a variance, actually, to build out into the garage space and put a second floor dwelling. That was all approved. We had a single space garage that was existing over there. And around 2005, had my first kid, 2007, my second kid, and as the family grew, we decided that we needed a little bit more additional space. So around 2015, I hired a contractor and decided to expand into the garage space and take over some of the living space quarters on my parents' side, which was their dining room and a bedroom. At that time, we actually spoke with the contractor. I figured that we needed some kind of permits or variances. The contractor actually was saying that this is your living space, what you do in interior is yours. But in hindsight, we understand that I think everything that gets done needs to be permitted and approved by this variance or this board. So this is the request that we're asking, is that we currently live in this space. It's just a family of me, my wife, and 2 kids, and my mom and my dad, and I'm looking for this special exception. Sure. Shanasim, S-H-A-H-N-A-S-I-M, Ahmedi, A-H-M-E-D-Y.
Are these the original drawings that you submitted way back in 2000?
Will not be
Do you have new drawings?
Yeah, so if this is the Mancini drawing, this is for the, so that we try to, so this has been a case that's been going on for about like 2019, I think this started, and we've been trying to get a variance to get this approved. So I had hired Mancini's architect to get this variance to go through. The first variance, it was denied. And so we never progressed with it. And I think we've been working with the town, the building department, with the planning department, and finally come to a point where we're like, let's just get this legalized and to get our COA for this. I don't have currently Mancini working for us, but I did call upon Pong because we needed to get the health department involved essentially to get some health, I guess, wastewater management issues and all that taken care of as well if this goes through.
We don't have updated drawings then, right?
What we have
Or
on
do they
file.
need them?
Well, what we have on file are the latest revisions that were done by Pong from Mancini Architecture. I believe they were done in September or October of 2020.
2020.
Which shows cross-access between both living quarters. And that was done per the board's request from the last public hearing that was held. The problem was that after the drawings were revised, David and his father never came back before the board with the revised plans so that you could review them and hopefully they could get a SECRA and they could get an approval. It's been sitting dormant on the back of the agenda since December of 2019.
So we could use these drawings.
You can use those drawings.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, on the drawings here, it shows an area for a 73 square foot expansion on the back. Are you still doing that, or you're just trying to legalize what exists?
That is existing also currently in the back, that's 73 square foot. It's a single level, it's a laundry room space.
Okay, I see it. So that's that little, it's got a little shed roof?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning?
Planning prepared a planning advisory report. We reviewed the application from the previous public hearing and also moving forward with this one, and we recommended approval of the temporary living quarters.
All right, thank you.
No comments.
Nothing? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19215, Roman Development LLC, 499 Middle Country Road, St. James. The location of the property is the north side of Middle Country Road, 225 feet east of Montclair Avenue. The property is owned WSI. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the setback from 25 feet to 9 feet for proposed outdoor storage and display, to increase the maximum height of a retaining wall from 6 feet to 12 feet, to reduce the minimum setback of a 12-foot retaining wall from the property line from 12 feet to 0 for an existing 158 long, retaining wall. Reduce the minimum parking setback from the south property line from 6 feet to 0.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Nicolia. I'm the attorney for the applicant Roman Development, LLC. I have offices at 612 Muncie Avenue, Lindenhurst, New York, the same as the applicant. Tonight with me, I have Matt Alliard from R&M Engineering, who is available to discuss the technical components of the retaining wall that we rebuilt. But I'll start at the top. The building, which already has a site plan approval, is basically intended to be used as an outdoor living retail store with a focus on barbecues and outdoor kitchen components. We're here tonight for several different variances, mainly related to the retaining walls that are highlighted, as well as the front display area along Middle Country Road, which has been termed by the planning department, or the building department rather, as outdoor storage. I'd like to touch on that first. That area is, I guess, it falls within the definition of outdoor storage. It's actually more of a display area. It's a paved area with an outdoor kitchen set up, a couple Adirondack chairs, and some fire pits. Those are not for sale. They're not for storage. They're basically for people to see. At the end of the product cycle, I'm sure like anything else in retail stores, the floor model is available. But that's not the intention of them being out there. They're not being out there advertised. It's just sort of showing the people driving by what we sell, more or less. Now, the retaining wall with a height of 12 feet instead of permitted 6 feet, that one, we did not build that. Well, we rebuilt it as a replacement in kind. There's been a retaining wall in that location in those dimensions for a very, very long time. And when we started doing site work, our site engineer pointed out that the wall was failing. So rather than wait for it to fail, we rebuilt it. Should we have went and got approval first? Probably, yes. And I apologize for that on behalf of my client, but here we are. The next component is the setback variance where that will, all right, we'll go here to the parking area. As you can see, there's a sidewalk alongside a fence. That fence delineates the property line with the neighboring property, which is the back of the Subaru dealership. We created a parking, a sidewalk there for pedestrian access instead of plantings. And from what I understand, that's what triggered this variance for the parking area being on the property line. And the last variance is for the retaining wall, that one, in the corner where it touches along the eastern property line. It's on the property line instead of being set back. I believe, I don't remember exactly what it was, but like I said, it was built in accordance with, or in the footprint of the original wall that's been there for a very long time. It's essentially a replacement in kind. Nothing has changed. It's same height, same dimension, same location. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Before you rebuilt that 12-foot retaining wall, there was a retaining wall there that was 12 foot?
Yes.
Okay. Wood or,
Excuse me?
was it wood or brick?
No, it was a concrete block.
Okay, it was just failing though.
Yes, it was very old.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No? Planning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Very much. Have a nice evening.
You too.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19222, J. Nazaro Partnership LP, 245 Lake Avenue, St. James. The location of the property, the northeast corner of Woodlawn Avenue and Lake Avenue. The property is zoned CB. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 17 feet for signs 1 and 2, to increase the number of wall signs from a maximum of 1 to 4 for signs 1 through 4.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Keith Brown, Brown Altman DeLeo, 538 Broad Hollow Road, Suite 301 West, Millville, New York, 11747. I'm here tonight with regard to the sign variance application made by J. Nazaro Partnership LP for 7-Eleven convenience store to be developed at 245 Lake Avenue in St. James. Specifically, the application seeks the following sign variances. The first, pursuant to Section 322-69A, to permit a wall sign to be 15 feet 8 inches and a wall sign to be 16.6, where 16 feet is permitted. And secondly, pursuant to Section 322-69 sub C sub 1, to permit 4 wall signs where 1 sign is permitted. So as a matter of housekeeping, all public notice mailings and postings were performed in accordance with the town code, and I just submitted them to Mr. Trotter before we got started here. For the record, today our office submits the following exhibits in further support of the application. I handed up an aerial photograph of the surrounding area, as well as a precedent chart of prior BZA decisions referenced therein in support of these 2 variances. And finally, I gave a copy of the site plan approval that we received for the proposed 7-Eleven. This is the last step in a very long journey for this proposed convenience store. As a general background, the property is located at 245 Lake Avenue in St. James, situated at the intersections of Lake and Woodlawn, and is currently improved by a now abandoned bank building. The property is unique in that it is visible from all directions as it fronts Lake to its west, 7th to its north, First to the east, and Woodlawn to the south. The property has an overall lot area of approximately 40,608 square feet, or about 0.93 acre. The property is zoned in the CB Central Business Zoning District and surrounded by other commercial developments and a residential area. To the east of the property, on the opposite side of First Avenue, is one single-family home and a large commercial single-level surface parking lot, which services a commercial building. West of the property is a shopping center with several food options, including a pizzeria and pasta and pork eatery, a French cuisine restaurant, and a hair salon. North of the property is a Gulf gas station and one residential home, and south of the property is a windows and door business and a side yard for one residential home. Importantly, the application will not change the established character of the area, as the property will continue to operate as commercial establishment. As provided for in the sign plan submitted with the application, the new building at the property, previously obtained site plan approval, will include enhanced architectural design that was worked on through several rounds with the planning department and ultimately approved by the town planning board. The purpose of the application is only to allow for the applicant to include the wall signage to the east, west, and south elevations of the building, so that the 7-Eleven use of the property will be readily visible to motorists and pedestrians on the adjacent roadways. There's no other means or methods can be used to accomplish this goal, and the wall signs do not unduly impose on any neighbors as the variances are relatively small. Just in terms of the prior precedent, I provided the board with the information related to the first variance is very similar to a Starbucks that was granted a height variance of 18 feet where 15 feet max. That's the Starbucks located 417 North Country Road, and it's case number 2-17636. The second variance is similar to not only the Starbucks of that same case number, but also the Bola located at Jericho Turnpike in Smithtown, where 3 wall signs were permitted and one wall sign max is allowed. That's at 819 West Jericho Turnpike, case number November 12th, 2020, case number 18405. So that completes our presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Pretty straightforward.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this?
Just by way of a summary, so we're going to use the pre-existing bank building. We're not looking to expand it. We're going to use the pre-existing bank parking. We're not looking to expand that. You're going to build a 7-Eleven there.
Correct.
And the other 7-Eleven just up the road, is that also your client, and is that closing, or is that going to remain open as well?
That is closing and everything. It's not us, but it is closing and it's moving over. I don't know if the franchisee is operating it or not, but yeah, but it is closing and this is going to become the new one.
This is a new building.
Yep.
Understood, I get that.
Yeah.
Right, but you're going to be basically in the same footprint as the pre-existing bank building?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
Just a couple of quick comments, Mr. Chairman. First, regarding the signage, we don't object to the height or the number of wall signs. However, we would request that the board condition the applicant to provide wall signage that is identical to the same type of signage that was used on the 7-Eleven in Fort Salonga on 25A. It has kind of like a wood-like finish to it, and they are lit with gooseneck lights. And the other thing is, there was a request for one sign, I believe it was for an ATM sign, and it's not really a sign, so we would request that the board not approve that sign.
Which one is that?
It's an ATM sign.
It's the
right
one
up
on
there.
page 4 of the sign package. It's this one right, yeah, there it is. It's up on the screen. The determination by planning was that it was not a sign. So that is in the window.
So that's not one of the 4 being requested.
No.
Sabrina?
So as far as Mr. Donatia's request of wood carved sides, we've been over this architecture, and this has not come up until now. So now we're trying to get in touch with the operator to find out if it's acceptable. I'd ask forward as proposed. If it's acceptable to, our tenant, then it's acceptable to us, but they ultimately are the ones who are paying the rent for it. And, this package that I'm looking at here took about 2 years, correct? Right, to get through with lots of negotiations. So I respectfully request. Right? Stick to the way it is.
The packets that you passed out, does it have what the signs look like in there?
Yes, I could show you. That's the small set. I have the big set on me if you want to see it. It's basically above the
All right.
2 elevations
Yeah.
above here.
All right, you have to go back.
So if you look at the screen, we're talking about the 7-Eleven sign in the pediment there, right, the reverse gable. That's on one elevation. It's the same thing on the second elevation. And there's gooseneck lighting, there's shingles. I mean, it looks like, the first thing I said when I saw it, to me, it looks like Mount Vernon. It doesn't look like a 7-Eleven. So if you flip to the next page, so the signs there are in detail on the left-hand side. You know, it's pretty modest. And then the last sign is on the one other side.
Does it show wood signs already? I think the elevator, this shows wood signs.
Blaze, can you tell me how much parking is required for this size building?
Yeah, there's no
sorry?
parking
There's no, it's just a
variance
variance for the
being
signs.
No,
requested.
I know, I'm just curious. I mean, there seems like more parking than they would need to run a 7-Eleven.
They definitely have more parking
They're
than
overparked.
they're required to have.
Understood, understood. But I understand that it's sign application. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, just with respect to the condition, I don't know what was agreed upon, so I don't want to sit here and say, you know, so I just assume leave the condition off. You know, I have no problem, Mr. Donadio, and it's okay to just like to get it approved.
Sabrina, you have nothing?
Comments?
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Good evening.
My name's Ryan Simpson, 229 First Avenue, St. James. My house, lucky for me, if you go to the aerial view, is right on First Avenue, directly across from the 7-Eleven. And we're concerned with light pollution, so, I mean, the lights are gonna be on all hours of the night. Our living room faces 7-Eleven. We just moved there 2 years ago, so we haven't been here for the whole party of this. This is our first meeting about this. We don't even know where the entrance is to the 7-Eleven. Is it gonna be on First Avenue? Is it gonna be on Lake Avenue? Is it gonna be on Woodlawn? So we're just concerned with light pollution, all pollution, because there's garbage. The property is not maintained by whoever owns it right now. There's constant garbage there. We pick it up because it's directly in front of our house, and you know, that's really it. I don't know why they need so many signs. 7-Eleven sells itself. The 7-Eleven on Lake Avenue only has one sign on the building, and then like a standalone sign. Seems like a lot of signs for a small town of St. James. I mean, who's driving? It's not 347, it's not 25A, it's Woodlawn Avenue, it's nothing. So we're just,
Corner of First Avenue and 7th Street?
yeah,
Okay.
so that's our concern. Yes.
My name's Heather Simpson at 229 First Avenue in St. James, and my concern is the amount of pollution that's there right now. I know that's not what's being discussed at this meeting, but I have had rats run because the area is not being taken care of, and I don't think that's fair for us living there. And also, just unsure of where my husband said where is the entrance going to be, and where the dumpster is going to be.
Right, would you like?
Sure. As far as the entrances are concerned, the plans show the one entrance being on First Avenue in the back and 7th Street. And the signs are going to face Lake Avenue, also the backside, because the idea was to maintain this building and leave it as is, in the location on the lot that it is. It's the 7-Eleven's unique in that it's going to have 2 front doors, right? Which is I've never seen one like that. And then the sign on the side is so it faces Woodlawn, because it is a larger road than is First Avenue or 7th Street. As far as the vermin, faster we get vermin, the faster we get in there, the faster construction can start, and the place will be improved dramatically. And then the last thing about the signs, we noticed just in terms of that condition, we'd be willing to condition it on as the signs appear here, because it does indicate that the white is a sandblasted white and that the other areas is wood grain style. So it looks like whatever was contemplated in the plans would be, so we write that language to say, as presented in the plans.
These signs, are they illuminated?
They are, but there's not going to be any light spillover. We're not allowed to spill over beyond the property lines
Are they
pursuant
lit,
to the
are
town
they
code.
lit 24 hours a day?
No, well, so they're actually, they're downlit, they're not backlit, Mr. Chairman. So if you look, you'll see that they're actually gooseneck lighting facing to the building, not outwardly. So there won't be any spillover on any of the neighboring properties.
But they're lit 24 hours a day, or?
Yeah, I believe they are, like most commercial establishments.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Can I have a motion to close the application?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Nice to see you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19223, Frank Menino, 769 Middle Country Road, St. James. The location of the property, the northwest corner of Middle Country Road and Sunny Road. The property is zoned WSI. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback on Middle Country Road from 50 feet to 45 feet, to reduce the minimum parking setback from the front property line on Middle Country Road from 25 feet to 21 feet, to reduce the minimum parking setback from the front property line on Hobson Avenue, from 25 feet to 10 feet, to eliminate the required truck loading space for a proposed 8,750 square foot, 2-story medical office and food retail building.
Good
Good evening, Board. Hello, Frank Menino, 769 Middle Country Road. Dan Parolano from Key Silver will be speaking tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Dan Peveraro, P like Peter, E, V like Victor, E-R-A-R-O, with Key Civil Engineering, 664 Blue Point Road in Holtzville. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Frank Menino, to present the proposed development and request the approval of several zoning variances necessary for the project. I'm joined by Jack Roseberry of Roseberry Architectural Studio should you have any questions on the proposed building design. To begin, the subject parcel is currently developed with a 150-seat restaurant and single-family home. However, as you might be aware, the restaurant and the site haven't been well maintained in recent years. Our proposal is to demolish the existing restaurant and single-family home and construct a new 8,750 square foot medical office and food retail building. This new development will include a proposed drive-through along the west side of the building, proposed parking along the north and east sides of the building, a trash enclosure behind the building, and town-compliant lighting. The proposed site meets the zoning requirements of the WSI zone for maximum building height, minimum rear yard, maximum GFA, minimum landscape area, parking stall dimensions, and minimum amount of parking. In order to move forward with this development, we're seeking 4 variances. A variance from section 322-9A to reduce the minimum front yard, 32263 to eliminate the truck loading space, and 2 variances from 322-65A for minimum parking setback along Middle Country Road and Hobson Avenue. The proposed development will bring about significant improvement to the site in several key ways. The proposed building will maintain a front yard setback of 45 feet to Middle Country Road and 76 feet from Hobson Avenue. In comparison, the existing restaurant has a much smaller front yard setback of approximately 20.5 feet from Middle Country Road and 18.2 feet from Hobson Avenue. Additionally, the new building will be set back farther than the setbacks of other nearby properties, particularly along the north side of Middle Country Road. The proposed site will feature significant landscaping improvements, including a 10-foot landscape buffer along Hobson Avenue and approximately 21 to 27-foot landscape buffer along Middle Country Road, where the current site has no landscaping along Middle Country Road at all and only very minimal landscaping along Hobson Avenue. These proposed landscape buffers will improve the aesthetic appeal of the site and provide better visual screening from the surrounding streets. The proposed development will include 1 full access point along Middle Country Road and 1 full access point along Hobson Avenue. This is a significant improvement over existing conditions where there's a depressed curb along the entire frontage along Middle Country Road, with cars actually able to back out onto Middle Country Road from parking spaces directly, which is also why there's no landscaping at all along Middle Country Road. It's actually just sort of a free-for-all. While a small loading area is included on the site plan, we're not providing for a formal truck loading space in compliance with the sizing requirements of the town. Loading will take place off hours and is anticipated to involve smaller trucks. This is in line with the existing conditions at the site for the restaurant right now. There is no loading space there currently, and loading takes place off hours. As part of the variance application, we submitted a detailed reasoning for the area variance considerations. As mentioned in that narrative, the variances being sought will not produce an impact on adjacent properties, are not substantial, cannot be achieved by an alternative, will not create an adverse effect on the environment, and are not self-created. The proposed variances will not have an adverse impact on adjacent properties and are not substantial. In fact, the front yard setback we are requesting, 45 feet, is larger than the adjacent buildings and larger than the current setback of the existing restaurant. The parking setbacks are significantly greater than what exists today, and the truck loading is in line with the existing restaurant conditions. The benefits of the variances cannot be achieved by an alternative, as the proposed front yard, landscape setbacks, and truck loading area were provided with the intent to maximize the landscaping along the north and westerly sides of the property. And the existing conditions at the site, including the small setbacks, lack of landscaping, and inefficient traffic circulation, were not created by the applicant. The variances are necessary to correct these deficiencies of the existing site and make the proposed development economically feasible while ensuring compliance with many of the other town's zoning requirements. In conclusion, we believe that the development represents a significant improvement over the existing conditions. We respectfully request that the board approve these variances and allow the proposed development to move forward. Thanks for the time. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
What type of restaurant?
Cafe, coffee shop.
So you have queuing for 10 cars?
That's correct.
Does anyone report?
No, thank you.
No.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application?
Good evening. My name is Brian Bree. I live at 140 Hobson Avenue, which is,
Excuse me, talk to the board.
I'm sorry, I live at 140 Hobson Avenue, which is next door to what they're doing. And what are they building there?
A medical building with a small coffee-type restaurant in it.
Okay, how far will be parking from my house?
Are you in the back?
I'm right next to the house they're tearing down.
Can you find him?
140 Hobson.
How far are you from the corner of Middle Country Road?
I'll now be the first house from Middle Country Road. I used to be the second
You're
house.
going to be over 120 feet from the building.
From back here. 120 feet plus?
From the building?
Yeah.
And how about from the parking?
16. 16-foot landscape buffer.
Landscape buffer is what, 16 feet? 16 feet.
Okay, fantastic. All right, have a nice night, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to be heard on this application? No? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, have a good night.
Good night.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19220, Bristol Comac LLC, Red Bull, 49 Mall Drive, Comac. The location of the property, the west side of Mall Drive, 954 feet east of Moreland Road. The property is zoned LI. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit a trucking station.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Dale Koch. I'm a principal at Bowler Engineering, located at 275 Broad Hollow Road in Melville, New York. Here representing the applicant Bristol Comac LLC. So just to keep things brief, I believe the board's all familiar with this site. We presented it about 2 years ago prior to construction. It's a 176,000 square foot warehouse building located at 49 Mall Drive. Construction is complete. My personal opinion, the construction came out really nicely. Everything, per the plans, all signed off. COs, I believe, issued for the white box. The landlord has now been fortunate enough to start signing up a few tenants. The first one that came about is Red Bull. The good news for this special permit and basically this application is that there are no changes to the exterior of the building. What Red Bull is looking to do is to store their delivery vehicles inside their physical tenant space. So first question we asked was, well, was the building designed to make sure that exhaust fumes and things of that nature have been taken into account for? And we were told that based on the code and the way the building was built, those are all taken care of and there will be no issues. So what it comes down to is this special exception from the zoning board to just operate or to allow for the storage of the trucks overnight inside the building. Just overall, I think it's a great use for the site. Plenty of room. The trucks can navigate. The building's big enough. The trucks can easily navigate inside and outside. There's covered drive-in ramps. So on the tenant will actually be on the east side of the building. You can kind of see it highlighted in the site plan in front of you. The ramps themselves are covered, so for them to get into the building, no issues with any type of inclement weather or anything like that. And, they're looking to operate it and just and keep everything as quiet and interior to the building as they possibly can.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Two questions. I assume that it meets all the general and specific standards?
It does.
So we must approve.
You must
Second
approve.
question is, since we must approve, are we allowed to approve without Suffolk County Planning?
Probably.
Okay. Thank you.
Planning?
Planning Department prepared a planning advisory report. We reviewed the application. Based on the proposal submitted, we recommended approval.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that could be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good night.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19148, I. Safarov Real Properties, LLC, 14 Bank Avenue, Smithtown. The location of the property is the west side of Bank Avenue, 151 feet north of West Main Street. The property is zoned CB. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet, to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 42 feet, to increase the maximum gross floor area of the lot from 60% to 75%, to reduce the minimum required parking from 27 spaces to 0, to reduce the minimum required truck loading space from 1 to 0, to reduce the minimum paving setback from the north, south, and west property lines from 6 feet to 0, for a proposed 3,389 square foot, two-story medical office building.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me back. I have Jackie and my engineer and Pong, my architect, to represent me today. And I'm Inessa Safarov.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jacqueline Peranto, principal at Key Civil Engineering, 664 Blue Point Road, Holtzville, New York. As mentioned, I'm here representing Inessa Safarov, the owner and applicant, and the dentist who will be operating the business out of this location, currently operates her business from this location. We appeared before this board on June 25th, 2024, at which time the building was situated further back on the property to allow for the parking of 3 vehicles. After much discussion with the town planning and environmental departments, the plan has been revised to locate the building closer to Bank Avenue to be more consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, which was adopted earlier this year. It should be noted that the subject parcel, currently zoned Central Business District, is slated to be rezoned to TVC zoning district under the town's comprehensive plan. The plan identifies this area as downtown Smithtown and places a transit village sub-district which encourages communal parking lots with large masses and placement of buildings closer to the front property line. As such, we are seeking many variances from the current code requirements in order to keep the property's development in concert with the future plans for the town. As indicated, the subject parcel is identified as District 800, Section 77, Block 5, Lot 37, or also known as 14 Bank Avenue. It's currently occupied by a medical office building, and the application proposes to demolish the current building and infrastructure and construct a new 2-story building that would consist of 1,613 square feet of medical office on the first floor, 1,776 square feet of professional office on the second floor. In addition, there'll be associated site improvements such as landscaping, drainage, and a new IA sanitary system. As indicated, we're seeking relief from this board for 7 variances. Actually, 8 of them were stated by Blaze. 1 has been eliminated, and that is the setback to the paved patio on the south side of the property, for a total of 7 variances. I will try to keep it brief, but I do want to go through each of the variances and cite our considerations in accordance with the regulations of the board. So the first variance is Chapter 322, 9A, reducing the minimum front yard from 10 foot to 5 foot. The variance would not produce an impact on adjacent properties or the neighborhood because the building setback would be in line with the buildings that exist along Bank Avenue, and the proposed C zoning district encourages buildings to be located a maximum of 10 feet from the front lot line. The request is not substantial because the existing building is currently 10 feet from the front lot line, and we're only seeking to move it 5 feet closer. The benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative because the building is on average 32 feet in depth, which is a minimal depth that is able to provide 4 exam rooms, a small office, and a reception area. Due to the lot depth of 86.71 feet and the angled rear lot line, it is difficult to comply with both the rear and front yard setbacks. So we did attempt to balance the location of the building. Further, we need to provide either a larger rear yard or a larger front yard in order to locate the on-site septic system and drainage system while complying with the required setbacks of those systems. And again, at the encouragement of planning, the building is closer to the front lot line, more in concert with that future planning directive with the comprehensive plan. The variance would not cause an adverse impact on the environment as it's consistent with placement of the buildings within this area as well as the proposed zone requirements. And the difficulty was not created by the applicant or former owner as it is due to the lot depth, angled rear lot line, and necessity to provide the on-site sanitary and drainage systems. Similar reasoning for the reduction of the minimum rear yard from 50 feet to 42 feet. Also, the rear yard is consistent with those in the neighborhood. Many of the buildings, specifically to our south, have much less than a 50-foot setback provided. The request is not substantial as it is only seeking a 16% variance relief from the code requirement. The benefit could not be achieved in any other alternative, again, due to the need to provide our drainage and sanitary system in a majority of the site, and that being the rear. So again, if we complied with the 50, our front yard would be a more substantial variance. So trying to balance those out. The variance did not cause an adverse impact as the rear yard is consistent with those buildings in the area. And again, the difficulty was not created by the applicant due to the size and shape of the property and the necessity to provide on-site sanitary and drainage. The third variance is the increase of maximum gross floor area of the lot from 60% to 75%. We do not feel that this would produce an impact to the adjacent properties or the neighborhood, as the new design guidelines proposed for this area would rezone the site to the Transit Village Core zoning district, which has no maximum requirement for gross floor area. We don't feel that it's substantial, as the request is under 25% variance. The lot itself is also undersized as an existing lot condition. If the lot was to meet the minimum lot size of 5,000 square foot, we would only be seeking a 7.8% variance or 13% waiver or variance from the requirement, so much less substantial. The benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative because the building footprint was determined based on the needs of the growing dental practice, and the result to provide 2 stories is necessary in order to provide adequate site area, again, to provide the drainage and sanitary that's needed to develop the property. And we don't feel that it can be created, that it was created by the applicant based on the size of the property. The next two variances being reducing the minimum parking from 27 to 0, and then reducing the truck loading from 1 to 0. These variances would not produce an impact to the adjacent properties because providing no on-site parking is consistent with the proposed TVC zoning district. The subject site is adjacent to large parking lots, including the Smithtown Railroad parking municipal lot, which is located about 500 feet north on Redwood Lane. There's also on-street parking that's available on the west and east sides of Bank Avenue, as well as the north side of West Main Street. The existing dentist office does not have any parking on site as currently. And again, the comprehensive plan encourages the transit-oriented development and no on-site parking. Deliveries would be primarily U.S. Mail or FedEx and would be able to be accommodated with the on-street parking on Bank Avenue, very similar to the loading conditions of the downtown zoning districts in those buildings. The request is not substantial because the variance is, again, in line with the comprehensive plan and the way that the businesses in the downtown area currently operate. The benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative because the town's objective is to not provide any on-site parking or loading spaces. The variance would not cause an adverse impact to the environment as there is adequate parking within 500 feet of the subject property for patrons to utilize. And the difficulty was not created by the applicant because, again, the as-is condition is that the site does not currently have any parking or loading. The next three variances all are in regard to the setback of the rear paved patio area, which will be used for employees to have lunch or just an outdoor space. The variance for the setback on the south side has been eliminated, but with the drawing that we submitted to the BZA, which is reflected up on the screen. So it is just the north side and the west side. And the majority of those property lines, we are providing a 6-foot buffer. We allowed some openings there just for pedestrian vehicular emergency access should they be needed. And again, depending on the future development of those adjacent parcels, may not be warranted, but at this point, we felt it was appropriate. The variances would not produce an adverse impact to our neighborhood because the neighbors who are north and west are commercial. They would most likely be providing similar buffers when they redevelop their property, although none exists there now. The request is not substantial because the majority of the lot will have the 6-foot landscape buffer. And again, for emergency vehicles, pedestrian access purposes, we did leave a portion of it open on the north and west sides. The benefit could not be achieved by an alternative because this area behind the building requires some means of access for emergency purposes. And wherever it was feasible, we did provide the buffer. Variance would not cause an adverse impact to the environment as landscaping can still be provided, and the difficulty was not created by us as we are still providing it, but creating some openings, again, just for emergency purposes and pedestrian connection should those lots be used for parking. So in summary, we are respectfully requesting that the board grant this application as presented. The proposed project promotes redevelopment of an existing tired property. It appeals to the current and future commercial office tenants. It increases the property value and the income streams for the property owner as is developed, and it is developed consistent with the intent of the town's comprehensive plan and transit village subdistrict. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
The unfinished cellar area, do you have an exterior entrance, or is everything done internally?
There is an exterior entrance to the cellar.
There is an exterior?
Yes. I believe there's an interior.
No, there is interior.
You have to come up if you look.
I'll let the architect speak about the floor plan.
There you go.
Pong Moy, Mancini Moy Architecture, 222 Middle Country Road, Suite 314, Smithtown. It's not an exterior. You have to go through a set of doors before you go into the stair to go into the basement.
Okay, so you have to go into the building and then down?
Yes, and then go down. We just, there's multiple ways to go down. That's just the way we designed it.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Yeah, a couple questions. What is the size of the existing building that you'll be removing?
$1,150 square feet.
And the existing use is just dental?
Yes. dental
Proposed
office.
use is dental and other medical office?
No, professional office on the second floor.
Professional office?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Blaze?
So as Jackie stated, planning did make a number of recommendations to the applicant with respect to the site plan. I think what you see up on the screen pretty much reflects all the recommendations that we made. So we're very happy with the changes that were made, and we do support them. I do have one comment / recommendation for you. Regarding the front yard setback, the setback in CB zoning is 10 feet. The applicant is proposing 5 feet. Currently, with the 5-foot setback, it's a 50% reduction of the requirement, and it's not in line with the building to the south. We would like to see a 10-foot front yard setback. The applicant can actually achieve that by making a small modification to the building. There appears to be 2 staircases, one along the north side. The entrance is on the east side of the building, and the staircase runs along the north side of the building up to the second floor. There's also an entrance on the west side of the building that runs along the south side, going again up to the second floor. If the entrance for the staircase on the east side of the building were removed, that would still leave a staircase that provides access to both suites on the second floor. There's a hallway with 2 doors, one on each end, which would provide access to the second floor. Additionally, eliminating the staircase along the north side of the building would enable the building to be designed so that the first floor would have more floor area, obviously, and the second floor would have more floor area, obviously, for all of the tenants of the building. So that would be our recommendation to the applicant for them to be able to meet that 10-foot setback. I don't have a pointer, so I can't point.
So the only thing I would, the health department mandates that our uses be completely segregated. You can't access the second floor from the first floor, can't access the first floor from the second floor. You need to have complete separate means of getting in and out of each floor from the outside. Because then those uses would be intermingled and they have different flow rates. So that is why there are multiple staircases. It's actually adding to the floor area ratio. There's probably over 300 square feet of just staircases that are needed. So that's actually one of the things that's driving our GFA variance as well. I would love to be able to tell you that I can push that building back another 5 feet, but I can't. I actually had to lay out the sanitary and the drainage system as part of my site plan in order to confirm that everything would be able to fit in the back. And I'm about 5 feet with my drywall to the lot lines, which I've spoken with engineering about and can be acceptable. But, until sewers are constructed in this area, the leaching pool setback to a drywall is 20 feet. A leaching pool to a property line is 10 feet. The septic tank to the building that has a cellar is 10 versus 5 if there was none. So, piecing all these things together is what is driving that building placement in an east-west direction. And that is where it needs to be placed. I don't know if you have anything to add on the floor plan, if there's any other way to shift the staircase or at least, I will say that the majority of the frontage of the building is set back 12.4 foot, and looking at the floor plan, you're absolutely right, it's that staircase on the front northeast corner that's sticking out, which is what's sticking outward, and creating, it's 5.8 foot is what it ends up being. So it is minimized, the portion of the building that's closer to the front lot line. So I would hope the board can recognize the amount of effort that this team has gone through, as well as our clients' patience. We've been at this for probably a year, coming up and trying to come up with a lot of creative solutions to fit her needs on a small property. I think it's a good plan. I do. And in light of the future zoning requirements, the setback will become a 10-foot max. So I do see that as development continues in this area, buildings will become closer to the front lot line. So this might be the first, but I think in time, everything will marry up to it. It won't seem out of place.
Okay.
Anything else about this one?
All right, thank you. Sabrina?
Comments?
Nothing? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on this application? No.
Don't all get up at once.
Right, don't all get up at once.
It's nice to be last.
Could I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the plans were submitted. November 1st. Why are we submitting all these people now? And that concludes the first portion of our meeting for tonight. Andrew Brown.
Case 19213, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried, 4-0. Next case is case 19214, Mark Schwing.
You want to wait?
Didn't we mark that no decision for tonight, or?
Sorry. You may want to wait for the applicant to submit that updated survey showing the exact location
Okay,
of the
fine.
fence. There is a possibility it could be partially in the right-of-way.
Okay, so no action. Next case is case 19216, Thomas Barussi.
Case 19216, did you guys want to discuss this one? There was a concerned neighbor about it.
That was with the garage.
Yeah,
I
she
don't-
was concerned about how far back the garage was, but it was hard to figure where her property was.
I agree, I just think that regardless, whoever's property it was, we're only going to 3 feet with a detached garage, which is,
That wouldn't have been approved if our other friend was here.
yeah. It just seems kind of substantial when there are alternatives. You know, to shift it 1 or 2 feet doesn't really impact the applicant, but it may give the neighbor some relief, so.
They have no problem meeting the 6-foot requirement. The backyard is clear of any other structures. And, I did ask John Gleason if it was an issue where there was something in the way where they couldn't meet that 6 feet, or if it was a personal preference, and he said it was a personal preference.
You want to make it 5?
That's what I was thinking. I mean, give them some relief so that they can center it a little bit. You know, the side yard on both sides of the house is only 11 feet, so it's not like there's going to be, a driveway that's
Right.
not going to line up with it if it's at 5 feet instead of 3. Anyone else have any?
I'd be,
I'm good with that.
I'm 5.
Okay, so on the depth to groundwater, environmentally sensitive lands, I'll make a motion to approve. On the reduction of the minimum distance to any lot line from 6 feet to 3 feet, I'd like to approve to 5 feet only.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 4-0. Next case is case 19217, James and Pamela Bryceland.
Case 19217, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19218, Jesus and Jill Valdez. No action. Next case is case 19219, Nelson Garcia.
Case 19219, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19221, James and Laura Diaconti.
19221, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 1-17981, David Amandy.
DEW does have one comment for the board. Our seeker is based upon the applicant receiving approval from the Department of Health to legalize the existing built prior temporary living quarters within the existing single-family dwelling.
So do we make that a condition?
You don't
can,
have to, you don't
but-
have to, because if you approve the application, he has to go to the building department to make applications for permits, inspections, and COs. The building department will not issue a CO until there is satisfaction from the health department that they meet the requirements.
Okay, so you had, I thought one was denied without prejudice on your PAR?
So yes, they were granted a variance in 2002 by the board to increase the FAR to 36%.
So deny as moot, you're
So
saying?
we're saying deny without prejudice because it's not, they don't need the
So-
variance. They don't need it.
Okay. So case 1-17981, I'll make a motion to approve all of the variances and special exceptions except for the increase of the maximum gross floor area, 25% to 35%, as that variance is now moot as it was previously approved.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19215, Roman Development LLC. We need a sequel.
Secret?
Motion has been made to approve the sequel. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Sequel approved 4-0. Now on the merits.
On the merits, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19222, J. Narazzo Partnership LP.
You guys want to discuss that one? Did he come in with additional information after?
No, basically, he came in to tell me that the people who had gotten up and spoke, they were speaking with them outside, and they were saying that people are dumping like waste,
Okay.
on the property, and that they've contacted public safety, and that they haven't responded to their complaints. I would like to make the board aware of something, though. I think there was a little bit of confusion when we were talking about the signage. It appears, based on their color renderings of the signage, that what they're proposing for this site actually does match the Fort Salonga location.
I was going to kind of bring up the fact that it is, St. James is right on that historic spy trail, I guess it's called. And I agree that I think we should kind of be very careful about the signage that we approve there. And I think that even if their client doesn't want to go with the better signage, then I think this board should kind of hold its ground and say, if we're going to approve an increase in height, they could put whatever they want if they kept it within the code. But if we're gonna grant them a variance, you know, let's go ahead and make them, you know, put something that's gonna be in character with St. James.
I can't see why a sign should be such a big issue. I mean, let them make it match what we already have in the town. I don't see why that's a problem.
I agree with you.
And I also wanted to point out that I was mistaken about the number of signs and what each sign was being called out. The ATM sign is one of the 4 signs being requested.
So do you have because we had no, I guess, composite list of what the signs were. All we had was the picture of the building.
There may be a site plan or a signage detail plan in the file that may have them numbered and show what they are. I don't think we have anything on this presentation that shows that. Oh, it does? Hang on one second.
I think they have it here.
Yeah, I can look. Thanks. That's a lot of package for 4 signs.
So sign number 4 is the ATM sign.
Okay, and now that, we're gonna deny that one because now it's inside of a window and is no longer a sign.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Case 19222, I'll make a motion to approve signs 1 through 3 and deny sign number 4, with the condition that the signs are similar in character and style to the 7-Eleven in Fort Salonga.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Send that back away. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, next case is case 19223, Frank Menino. We need a CEQA.
Secret.
Motion has been made to adopt a CEQA. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. CEQA adopted 4-0. Now on the merits.
On the merits, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19220, Bristol Comac LLC, Red Bull. We need a CEQA.
Should we wait until Suffolk County Planning? You guys want to wait till the next meeting on that one?
For what?
Suffolk County, we don't have Suffolk County Planning, and I believe,
You don't have it on the one.
which one? Oh, we don't have it here. Why do we not have Suffolk County Planning on that one? That one's on,
And
it's
Suffolk
not on a
County.
county road, is it?
If you look at all of them, NA.
Well, it's actually on a state road. The Menino application is on New York State Route 25.
So should we wait on, I know in the past we've done it, but I know,
Well, they could always come back with comments, and the only way you can override comments is supermajority, so. Sorry? I said they could come back with comments, and if they did come, I'm not saying they are, but if they did, then you have to decide whether you're incorporating them or whether you're going to override it, and that requires supermajority vote, so that's what I would suggest waiting, but.
but if we have a supermajority on the approval, wouldn't matter. It's gotta be,
You have to have 4 votes.
you guys tell us what to do.
It's not my
We don't
job
want to
to
run
tell you
afoul
what
of
to
the
do.
town attorney. We don't want them mad at us.
I would wait till the next meeting.
Okay, so then we have to go back and
Back
wait
and-
on the previous one as well.
Are you rescinding your approval?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're tabling it.
Tabling it.
So case 19223, Frank Menino, we're going to table that until the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then case 19220, Bristol Comac LLC, we're going to table that till the next meeting. So no action on both.
I mean, we're tabling these because we need something from Suffolk County Planning.
Right.
Okay.
I believe state law says we're supposed to wait, right?
30 days. They have 30 days to respond. I have no idea how long ago we notified them. It could have been more than 30 days.
That might not be a terrible thing to have the information of at each meeting.
Yeah. That's why I said it.
Okay.
Right. Right.
Next case is case 19148, I Safaroff Realty Properties LLC. We need a SEQA.
Secret?
Motion has been made to adopt the SEQA. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
SEQA adopted 4-0. Now on the merits.
On the merits, I think we should discuss this one a little bit because we're kind of, we'd be setting a precedent, but I had a couple questions under the new TVC. I believe that's the zoning classification that it's going to be. What's the front yard setback in the proposed new zoning classification?
I think it's going to be required to be 10 feet, up to 10 feet.
Not more than 10 feet? Because that's what she had said.
I'm not positive.
She said a max of 10.
Max of 10.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's the case or not.
We also don't know how long before anybody else is going to begin to reach that level. I mean, the property to the east and the property to the west might stay the way they are at a greater distance. Then it could be years before anybody redevelops them.
I mean, personally, I like the application. It's just if the first one out of the gate, we say we're going to go 10 to 5, then they all go 10 to 5. I just don't know what the intent is under the new zoning classification.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe table the decision till the next meeting. That way, if the applicant wants to reach out to us about the setback and what we discussed at the end of the meeting, they can, before the board actually makes a decision.
But I don't
Could-
think you're going to be hearing from them. She seemed pretty definitive.
Oh, I have no doubt I'll hear from them.
But
You think so, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can we maybe get at least something to hang our hat on if we're going to, I mean, this is a super significant reduction in parking under the old code. You know, now that the town is embarking on this, the endeavor of redoing the comprehensive plan, and this is contemplated, it makes sense, but we're still acting under the old code, so perhaps.
Right. And just, you know, as a FYI, I'm sure all of you are aware, in the past, the board has used municipal parking in lieu of on-site parking, particularly on some of the properties along Main Street, the northern side of Main Street, because they do have the municipal parking behind the buildings. So we've taken that into consideration when there's been a substantial parking reduction.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, and like I said, I'm personally in favor of the application. It's just I want to make sure that we have our ducks in a row. The reality is the use is currently medical office. It's going to be proposed at medical office at roughly twice the size. What does that?
They're more than doubling the size of the building.
More than
and
doubling the size, but
parking
again,
is
it's still just a 3,000 square foot
Three
building.
times the
I get that,
size.
Yeah, I mean, the parking situation disturbed me also, but what is the utilization curve in the railroad parking? Is there space available there at all? If the town code is planning on changing with the master plan and not requiring parking, then far be it from Paul Tomato to say you have to have parking. But how much parking is there? The on-street parking thing is not impressing me. I don't know what the utilization is in the Long Island Railroad parking. Most railroad station parkings during the day are full.
That does require a permit, though. So the MTA parking really isn't available to residents just to park in if they want to go walk in downtown and go shopping. That's what the town municipal parking lots on the south side of Redwood Lane are for.
Okay.
So planning has had obviously a year plus working on this with them. What is the consensus in the planning department about the shortage of parking?
It could go either way. You know, it could not be, it could be a non-issue, or, you know, maybe they have a dispute with the neighbor next door with the parking lot because somebody might have used it to park in it and walk into the building, but that's beyond our control. You know, we know that there's on-street parking, we know that there's town parking on Redwood Lane within walking distance. So, you know, based on that, there should be sufficient parking.
Yeah, well, obviously, parking study is just gonna tell them how short they're going to be. And
Right.
then we would actually, it won't tell us where the, you know, the quantity and the availability of where the people would actually be parking. I think it just might make sense for us to have some information on the proposed zoning classification and something to basically put in, you know, maybe not a full-blown findings, but at least something to justify our decision, saying, you know what, this is our decision because we could, obviously under the old zone, I'd be saying, I don't know, 27-0, that's significant.
So maybe waiting until the next meeting, we can put together some facts
I think so.
for you to review.
Yeah, basically what planning had, you know, the reasoning that planning thinks that this is a good idea.
Okay.
You know, not necessarily a PAR, but maybe a
Just
memo.
Yeah, that's easy enough.
Thank you. Is that okay with you guys?
Fine.
Yes, absolutely.
So no
Absolutely.
action?
No action.
No action.
So then we're not approving the secret either at this point then?
No.
Okay.
All right. I guess the next case is case 18616. Simonello, I guess a 30-day warning letter went out?
So, yes, a 30-day notification letter went out to the applicant, notifying them that their application had been inactive for quite some time, and that we needed them to contact us within 30 days. I did have a conversation with the applicant's attorney, Vincent Tremarco, and he did agree that at this point, because it's been so long, that having the board deny it without prejudice makes sense. If they do want to move forward with the application, they can come back.
Next case, 189.
Are we denying that then?
Did you vote on that?
Yeah, we're gonna deny that
Oh,
without,
Do we wait for the letter to come back? Or
No,
do-
no, no,
is
no,
that-
we didn't get a response.
So you sent it out 30 days ago, now you want us to act on it?
Right.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
We're a little slow on the uptake here. So case 18616, I'll make a motion to deny without prejudice, correct?
Motion has been made to deny without prejudice. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0 to deny without prejudice. Next case is case 18942, Jason Reiser.
Case 18942, I'll make a motion to deny without prejudice.
Can I, this thing is killing me, man. Can I just give the board some quick information, then you can vote on it?
Sure.
So, the Risers was one of the applicants who was noticed with a 30-day letter. They were sent out October 24th. We received an email from the applicant October 30th stating that they wanted to have their case held open. I responded on October 31st stating that unless they were planning on presenting new information or submitting new information or requesting to have their case reopened within 30 days, that the board would likely deny their request without prejudice. I did receive another email 2 weeks after that, on November 15th, with a very lengthy explanation as to why they haven't been moving forward with their application. Apparently, there's been some issues with architects, and that they're working on it now. They're trying to secure an arrangement with an architect to move forward. That's the only information I can give you.
So then what do we, how about instead of denying it, we basically give it another 2 months,
First of the year?
I would say 30 days,
30 days?
yeah.
So next meeting.
No.
It will go beyond next meeting.
The
Okay.
first of the year,
Yeah.
January's meeting. All right,
Okay.
so no action till January. Next case is case 19140, Comac Shopping Center, LLC, BJ's.
So everybody has in their packet a little memo that has all of the recommendations by planning for approving and/or denying the application, if you want to take a look at it.
Got it. Was I not at this meeting?
No, you weren't there.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out.
I don't see a packet.
It's,
Here, you know mine.
You don't mind? Thank you. Bill, you have it as well, or you don't? You don't either? Well, here, you can share this.
okay. Okay. I'm good. If you're good with it, Paul, you're going to have to read it into the record.
Okay. You want me to read in all of the specific conditions verbatim?
You might as well.
Or do you want me to just read in the requests and approved, approved with conditions?
Yeah, read the request, just as it's here, and then what the decision was.
Okay, fine. All right. I guess this is, before I make a formal motion, it's a motion to approve and/or without, with conditions, without conditions, and then to deny one of them. Okay, fine. I'd like to make a motion with regard to the special exception to permit a filling station to approve with conditions. You want me to read them all?
Just go through all.
Oh, okay, I thought we were going to vote individually, okay. I'd like to make a motion also to include variance of a special exception standard to permit a filling station within 1,200 feet of any existing filling stations to be approved. Variance of a special exception standard to permit a filling station to have signage that does not comply with Article 10 zoning ordinance to be approved. Article 10 of the zoning ordinance to be approved. Variance of a special exception standard to reduce the required densely planted buffer adjacent to a resident district from 50 feet to 10 feet, approved to 20 feet only with conditions. Special exception to permit a propane exchange, approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to permit a propane exchange that is not an accessory use to a filling station, approved with conditions. Variance of a special exception standard to increase maximum storage capacity of a propane exchange from 200 gallons to 2,000 gallons, approved with conditions. Variance to reduce the minimum required parking from 1,757 to 846 spaces, approved. Variance to increase the maximum permitted area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 156 square feet for signs 10 and 11, approved for sign 11 only. Variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 17 feet for signs 6 and 9, approved for sign 6 only. Variance to increase the maximum height of a ground sign from 15 feet to 16 feet for sign 11, approved. Variance to increase the maximum number of wall signs from 1 to 2 signs, deny. Variance to permit a wall sign not to face a public street for signs 6 and 9, approved for sign 6 only. Variance to permit a prohibited sign on a canopy, signs 6 and 9, approved for sign 6 only. Variance to permit a sign with red and green illuminated portions within 100 feet from the point of intersection of the nearest street lines, signs 10 and 11, approved with conditions for sign 11 only.
And you have to read the conditions.
And you want the specific conditions. Condition 1, the buffer along the west property line near the proposed filling station shall be increased to 20 feet and constructed as a berm with a densely planted buffer. Condition 2, the propane filling station shall be limited to a single tank and sufficiently screened with buffer plantings and/or walls to reduce visual impact to the public. Condition 3, the applicant shall implement traffic calming techniques at the 2 on-site intersections near Michaels in order to reduce traffic conflicts. Condition 4, the site plan prepared by the engineer and the architectural details for the canopy shall be revised to match. Condition 5, all of the above conditions are subject to review, modification and approval by the Board of Site Plan Review. Condition 6, architecture for the canopy and pad building shall be subject to further approval by the Board of Site Plan Review.
Second. Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 3-0. Next case is case 19157. Eric and Nicole Van Molen.
I have that we were only waiting on a secret for this one.
So just to bring the board up to speed, after the last meeting where we had discussed the application and the board expressed support for the application, we went back and discussed it some more, and some aspects of the application really are substantial. So what we did, and I think that the environmental department actually would like this information before finishing their SECRA review. We made a very small memo indicating what we felt would be a good recommendation for approving this application.
So we still don't have a secret, though.
You do not. This discussion is really to determine if the board wishes to proceed with your original determination, or if you want to adopt any or all of these recommendations.
So the proposed first floor addition, they were looking at 52 square feet, and the proposed second floor addition, they were looking for 588 square feet, total of roughly 630, 640. And the recommendation from planning is to approve it with 472 square feet only. Up to you guys.
I'm okay with the advisory report.
I'm okay with it also.
I'm okay with it either way. I was okay with it before, the other way, so.
But we can't vote anyway. We need a sequel, right? So no action. You want yours back? I think Paul
No,
has it.
Paul can have it. I think Paul likes it.
Oh, he likes it?
It's been good for me.
Oh, okay. Going away present.
I'll share with Bill, though, if you share with them.
Next case is case 19162, Michael Porcello.
Let's hope he doesn't need any conditions.
6, so that's.
I think we're just waiting for
No,
the
it
sequel.
was 19612.
Yeah.
Hold on.
We're just waiting on health, and they have applied for a health application.
I don't know why I don't see that one. 19162. 3, 6, 7.
Were you here for that?
I was here, yeah. I was here, all right. Case 19162, I do have, we were waiting on SECRA. It's a type 2 now, so I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19211, Michael Madden.
9211.
We do have one comment for the board, and that was just to show that there are 2 existing pillars along the driveway that encroach into the town right-of-way to the south. So we recommend that they contact the highway department.
Is that the driveway on Lake Avenue or Quist Lane?
Good question. I don't know.
Oh,
Quist, yes.
Quist? Okay.
On Quist. Case 19211, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that the encroachments on Quist Lane be removed or an agreement is entered into to make them acceptable to the town.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is case 19212, Ross Rifleman.
2. Okay, I just had, so it's type 2 now, so I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that the land banked parking will be required to be developed if there is a shortfall.
Second?
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Next case is extension of time, Smithtown, Long Island Hotel Properties on Motor Parkway.
So can I just give the board some quick information regarding this application? This was an application that went before the board 11 years ago? 12 years ago. It was approved for variances. They've been extending their approval for the past 12 years. The building codes have changed, our codes have changed. The town board recently granted them a final extension that is good until April 25th, 2025. We recommend that if the board does decide to grant them an extension, that it does not go beyond that date.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, so for case 16643 and case 16644, we'll grant extension of time to April 25th, 2025. Okay, 4-0 approved. Okay, what about these?
So
Reopenings.
we have some requests on the back of the agenda for reopenings and rehearings. Just go through them quickly with you. The first one, case number 19037, is the Starbucks application on Alexander Avenue. We would recommend that the board hold off, if you want to reopen it, hold off scheduling a hearing date at this point, because as we know, we are losing a board member after the next meeting, and we don't know when we will have a new board member to take his place. So at this point, if we scheduled it for a meeting in January, and we didn't have a new board member until February, they'd be adjourning it again anyway.
Also, the applicant might not,
What?
that date might not work for the applicant.
Right, and Vinnie Tramarko said, of course, he wants a full board.
All right, so no action.
No, well, you can reopen it and just not set a hearing date and do it so that it's time, that hearing can be scheduled once everybody's ready for one. You can,
So we'll just we'll vote to reopen and then
Vote for reopen, and we'll
let the
give a date. We'll
chairperson
give
pick
a-
the date.
We'll give a date at a later time.
TBD?
Okay.
And there's no problem with my voting to reopen if I wasn't there for the original hearing, because we're only voting to...
Right,
Okay,
that's correct.
Fine.
Okay. want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to reopen case 19037 and let the chairperson pick a date at some point in the future.
Motion has been made to reopen. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0 to reopen. Next case is case 19061, Mary Sue. Name
Okay,
is-
so I'm sure
wishes
that
to
the
reopen.
board remembers this case. This was a two-story, 17-foot tall shed in the rear yard of someone in Fort Salunga on, what was this, Paddock Lane. And the board rendered a decision, basically limiting the applicant to a structure not greater than 12 feet in height, and that did not have any windows above the first floor. The applicant is not satisfied with that decision. They're asking to come back before the board because they now would like to relocate the shed 10 feet from the rear property line, remove the windows on the second floor, but maintain the 17-foot height. The reason that was disclosed to me why they wish to maintain the 17-foot height is that their intention is to use that roof for solar panels for an electric vehicle that they own.
Because the sun doesn't get to 12 feet?
I don't know.
I don't think there's really any height restriction for solar panels. I know when I was putting solar panels on my house, the only restriction was the trees around the house. If you had trees, they had to be either taken down or pruned back so the sun could get to the solar panels. But there was no height discussion whatsoever. Well, I think one of the big issues we had was the height.
Yeah, I thought the woman objected to the visibility from a window, but I thought she also objected to the eyesore of the height of the building.
Yeah.
She wasn't just upset about the fact that people be looking out the window, but she took time to discuss that. But she also said that it would be an eyesore.
So if they're willing to move the structure
How do
to
you
10
move-
feet,
How do you
they-
move a structure 10 feet?
well, the code allows them to go to 15.
The maximum height of the structure is 15 feet. They're currently requesting 17 feet.
Right,
They
my point is
also-
if you're willing to move the building to 10 feet and comply, then they could just put the height at, then they no longer need our variance for that structure. They
Well,
could
yeah,
go to
yeah,
15 feet.
Yeah, they do, because they want 17.
I
So
understand
even
that,
if they
but my
move the
point is that
structure-
if they're, the offer of proof that they're giving us to reopen the case, if they're willing to move it to 10 feet, then go to 15. I think that, you know, the fact that the thing is over height in the backyard is what was the problem, because it was basically looking at that neighbor's yard.
If they move the building 10 feet further into the property, how much of an eyesore is the 2 extra feet?
Well, they won't be moving it 10 feet
So where are they-
further
They'll
into
move
the
it 10 feet
backyard.
out. They'll move it 8 feet.
They'll maintain a setback of 10 feet from their rear lot line. Currently, I think it's at 7 feet, 6 or 7 feet.
Okay.
They were asked for 2 setback variances. One was to the north property line, which I think was 6 or 7 feet, and the second was to the west rear property line, that was 2 feet.
Right.
And now they're going to adhere to 10 feet off the property line?
From the north,
From the
they're
north.
still going to maintain the 2 feet
Okay.
to the
Okay.
west.
To me, it's like a new application. You know, you guys decide. We gotta be unanimous to reopen
It has to be
it.
unanimous to open it.
Well, I'm always willing to listen to people, so I have no problem with letting somebody come back in and discuss further. I mean, do you do it 7, 8, 9, 10 times? Of course not. But if they want to come back and discuss that further, I'm sure that that woman will come back too. And if it's not resolved, we don't have to approve it.
And they'll have new drawings.
You know what we can do? We can bring
They
you
will
back
have
as
to
a
provide
guest.
you with
Yes.
drawings and
Yes.
He's gonna come
survey
back as a
showing the
guest.
location.
To listen to this.
I may be getting this, I may be getting, Okay, sorry, sure. If they're done, I may be getting this one anyway, if it goes to court.
Paul's just willing to make more work for us.
All right. Tony's a yes, Paul's a yes, I'm a yes. Bill? Yes. A yes.
All right.
So we'll give them a date, January 28th?
Sure.
January 28th. '25. All right, and the last case is case 19150, La Familia.
So this was actually heard by the board. However,
A gazillion times.
at planning's recommendation, the applicant has revised the site plan that they are using to come before the board to ask for the variances in question. Previously, they had given us a site plan that covered both sites that are side by side. They didn't need a parking variance or a small parking variance, but there was an issue with the FAR within the LWRP boundaries. If they use the site plan for the restaurant only, there is no FAR issue, but they have a higher parking variance request. And that is the direction we recommended they go in. That's the direction they're going in. December 10th is looking lean, so I would suggest if you do want to reopen it, December 10th would be a good date.
All right, I'm for it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that also.
Okay. So case 19150, La Familia, we're going to reopen that case on December 10th, our next meeting. And that concludes our meeting for today.